Good afternoon and welcome back to another ironic introduction to another video. Today, Kabam has released the Act 6 Chapter 4 update, so we get to see things like the nodes, the new nodes that were being released, some information about like Legends Run and the rewards, etc. As always, if you'd like to just read the forum, I'll have a link to it in the description below. If you only care about like my thoughts on the rewards or my thoughts on the nodes, there will be links and timestamps in the description below for that as well. That said, the post itself, the grand finale. After quelling the more rebellious elements of the battle realm, Karina realizes that she'll never be able to create any lasting peace until she deals with her most powerful enemy, her own uncle. Chasing him to the very ends of the battle realm's known territories, Karina will need to battle against the strongest champions the Grandmaster has at his disposal before facing him down herself. Can the summoner help Karina overcome the might and cunning of the Grandmaster? Act 6 releases on March 11th. With the release of Chapter 4, you will have an opportunity to become one of the few skilled summoners that earn a Legends title for all of Act 6. This Legends run will begin the moment you start Act 6 Chapter 4 in Act 6. You'll have until April 22nd at 10 a.m. PDT to log a time. That means that if you start Act 6 Chapter 4 and 100% explore it, but have not 100 explored Chapters 1, 2, or 3, you will not register a Legends run time. Take your time to complete those before you start the first quest of Chapter 4. The rewards for the Legends run of Act 6 Chapter 4 are rank 1 through 5, 1 tier 5 class Catalyst Crystal, 3 tier 5 basics, and 1 6-star crystal. And for rank 6 through 100, 25 tier 5 class Catalyst Fragment Crystals, or essentially the equivalent of 50% of a class Catalyst, 1 tier 5 basic, and 1 6-star crystal. For the top 100 summoners, there will be more than just a trophy champion. From this chapter's Legends run will, as well as the top 20 of Act 6 Chapter 1, top 40 of Act 6 Chapter 2, and the top 60 of Act 6 Chapter 3 will all receive the never-before-owned 6-star Wolverine Weapon X. This champion has been featured in event quests in the past, but has never been played by a player. He also features a completely new set of abilities, and it is much more than just a special version of the classic Wolverine. We read his champion spotlight here. This is your first opportunity to obtain Wolverine Weapon X, but it won't be your last. This champion will remain a rare reward, but there will be more opportunities to add him to your team in the future. Precarious paths and malevolent mini-bosses. In Chapter 4, the paths in each quest all feature a different focus regarding their buff nodes and opponents, with the entire path supporting a path identity. The intent of path identity is to provide players with a focused and consistent challenge, one that can build strategies around knowing that the difficulty will be consistent throughout the path. The challenge of these paths will culminate in a unique mini-boss opponent found at the end of the path just before the boss, that adds an extra layer of difficulty on top of the existing path identity. On a more personal note, we know that Act 6 has been a bit of a bumpy ride for everyone involved. We want more than anything for everyone who plays through Act 6 to come out of it feeling proud of their accomplishments and excited for whatever Act 7 has in store for them. Please know that those of us working on Chapter 4 want Act 6 to end on a high note for all of our players, and that we're grateful for the community's patience, perseverance, and prowess. We wish you all the best of luck against our final Act 6 boss and look forward to hearing your stories of success and loss. Introducing 8 new path buffs. There are 8 new path buffs making an appearance in Act 6 Chapter 4. Each quest features at least one of these buffs to test the summoner's skill and roster. Special Connoisseur. The defender takes 90% reduced damage from all sources except special attacks activated while the attacker has an active prowess effect. That's gonna sting. The defender takes 90% reduced damage from all sources unless suffering from a power sting effect. Additionally, attacker's attack ratings increased by 40% while the opponent is suffering a power sting, and the potency of their power sting effects are increased by 300%. Stunning Reflection. At the start of the fight, the defender receives a permanent stun shield. While the shield is active, the defender can't be stunned. Every time a stun is attempted, the attacker is stunned instead for 3 seconds. The shield will go into a cooldown for 8 seconds if the defender is inflicted with either poison or incinerate. While this cooldown is active, the attacker gains plus 40% attack rating. Polka Dot Power. The attacker gains no power from landing or receiving attacks. Instead, they are granted 12% of a bar of power per second while the defender is suffering from a damaging debuff. Thermostat. The attacker starts the fight with a thermostat value of 10. Landing basic attacks increase the value by 1 for each hit. Blocking an attack or activating a special attack decreases the value by 2. If the value reaches 0, the attacker is inflicted with Cold Snap, and if the value reaches 20, the attacker is inflicted with Incinerate. If either of these are triggered, the thermostat value is reset to 10. Energy Adoption Fire. The defender has a 50% chance to inflict the attacker with Incinerate on contact. These effects will not trigger while the defender is suffering from a bleed debuff. The defender also takes 100% reduced damage from Incinerate effects and gains a regeneration buff, healing 1% of max health per second until the Incinerate expires. Energy Adoption Ice. The defender has a 50% chance to inflict the attacker with Cold Snap on contact. These effects will not trigger while the defender is suffering from an armor break debuff. The defender also takes 100% reduced damage from Cold Snap effects and gains a regeneration buff, healing 1% of max health per second until the Cold Snap expires. Energy Adoption Lightning. The defender has a 50% chance to inflict the attacker with Shock on contact. These effects will not trigger while the defender is suffering from a poison debuff. The defender also takes 100% reduced damage from shock effects and gains a regeneration buff, healing 1% of max health per second until the shock expires. So as far as energy per path, it will be 3 energy per step with 6 paths, approximately 30 nodes per path, approximately 90 energy for quest completion, and 540 energy for quest mastery. There will be an exception, which is Chapter 4, Quest 6, which will include 3 energy per step, 6 paths, and 22 nodes per path, for an estimated 66 energy for quest completion and 396 energy for quest mastery. So for the rewards, for the rewards, we're seeing 30 5-star Sigstone crystals, so full random. Hold on, my screen is being wonky here. 180,000 gold, 657,000 tier 2 alpha, which translates to 18 and a quarter tier 2 alpha and 540 units, and that's just from the quest completion. For a chapter 4 completion, you'll see 1 tier 5 basic, 3 tier 2 alpha, 8,000 6-star shards, 15,000 5-star shards, 4 cavalier crystals, 2 to 3 rank up gem crystals for 5 stars, and 2 3 to 4 rank up gems for 5 stars. Actually, here I'm just gonna hold off on the rewards for just a bit for the rest of them, because that's the whole forum. So I will stick a timestamp in the description below for any of those who are interested. And here I'm gonna post up a picture of the MCOC Champion True Coast rewards for those of you who are just interested in watching. For the most part, it does kind of clip off the gold, but that's really not what you're looking for in the first place. So yeah, so for the Act 4 rewards, I've already spoken about those, and for the exploration of Act 4, we do see that 25% of a tier 5 class catalyst, 3 tier 5 basics, 7 tier 2 alpha, a full 6-star crystal, and 2.5 5-star crystals in the form of shards, and 2 random 3 to 4 5-star rank up gems. For Act 6 completion, we see 3 tier 5 basics, 7 tier 2 alpha, a 6-star crystal, 2 5-star crystals in the form of shards, a 4 to 5 rank up gem random for a 5-star, and for the exploration, we see a full tier 5 class catalyst, 4 tier 5 basics, 8 tier 2 alphas, 1 random 6-star generic 6-star awakening gem, not generic, it's class specific, and 2 class specific 4 to 5 5-star rank ups. So that said, for those of you who are only interested and wanted to skip the read aloud, let me jump into the post itself, and I'll have a timestamp here. But as far as things go, man, my gut instinct is this looks rough. And I think a lot of people agree. I've already talked to some people on my alliance and stuff, and we have a little bit of differing opinions, so I'll try to give both perspectives, because I think there's positives to this, but also a lot of just brutal negatives. So the Legends run, I just kind of ignore that. If that's your shtick, that's your shtick. But go ahead and claim those rewards. For the top 100 summoners, I love this Wolverine Weapon X. I don't foresee myself ever getting him, but he is super cool. I read into his abilities a little bit. Maybe I'll do an ability rundown if I feel like I have the time, but he is super, super, super cool. I just really, really love that champion isn't in here. I feel like Kang and Thanos, those are just trophies, and this champion he almost feels usable. So it really comes down to how he is in actuality. early, but I really can't wait to see gameplay of him and just kind of like drool over the fact that I'll never have him. As far as like what they're doing with 6.4, I really like the concept of path identity. I think that could be done really well. The idea of a mini boss followed by a boss sounds brutal. I definitely think like that wasn't necessary, but hey, maybe that's like Kabam's way of like micro stepping it up, because people definitely don't react well to like mega tier omega tier bosses at the end. Like the champion received really poor feedback, and that was like one way for Kabam to scale the difficulty up, and so like this is kind of an alternative approach, right? Like they keep the bosses at like a similar difficulty, and then they introduce more bosses on every path in the form of a mini boss. So yeah, it just really depends on how the implementation of that is for how I'll feel. But I think the path identity is really neat, and this is a a solid way to up the scaling of the difficulty without just absolutely brutalizing people with rough bosses. As far as like this nice little note, I agree. I think that it would be nice to see Act 6 finalized in something really nice. I just don't think that's going to happen based on the rewards in these nodes. So for the nodes, I'll stick a timestamp here, but I have this handy dandy little Excel sheet here where I've just put in my like initial thoughts on the nodes. So it's not like going to be a like guide for these nodes, because obviously we have to see how it comes down in the paths itself. But what I have on the left are the nodes themselves, and then on the right I have essentially what I think you need to bring in order to counter the node, / what you almost explicitly need to bring to counter the node. So the first one is Special Connoisseur, which is the defender takes 90% reduced damage from all sources except special attacks activated while the attacker has an active prowess effect. So I'm really hoping that when we see that node, we also see boosted special damage, because if we're not seeing boosted special damage, man, that's gonna be rough. So essentially you got to bring prowess, and Kabam Mike did give out a good hint here that Captain America Infinity War with his mutant synergy can give any mutant a prowess effect. So you do still see a lot of really strong mutants, but again at the same time mutants were already like gonna be the answer with like Emma Frost and Havoc being really good in the form of prowess effects. So yeah, if just one reason if you're holding on to Emma Frost or Havoc to like consider bringing them up in the future. The next note is That's Gonna Sting, which is essentially the defender takes 90% reduced damage from all sources unless suffering from a power sting effect. So essentially you just need to have a power sting on the opponent. Yeah, which just isn't really super prevalent in the game. I think you can get this with like Mr. Fantastic and some synergies, as well as like Emma Frost and Yellow Jacket. If there are more answers, please let me know, because I've been like racking my brain, and those are the 3 I can think of really. So maybe Kabam's got like a list of champions they're bringing forward in the future. Otherwise, I think this is going to be probably like the worst node gate as far as node gates come for 6.4. Stunning Reflection. This one seems like the most friendly to player skill, because essentially it's just like fighting Black Panther Civil War, as long as you have a response to like the stun reflection. So like for example, you could be playing Mordo, that's a cheeky way to respond, or maybe you're playing someone who can't get stunned like Emma Frost, big news when she's in diamond form, or if you just only intercept, that's a really good way around this. Also, if you poison or incinerate, you're going to be fine through this as well, so it's really not that big of a deal. Polka Dot Power is just pretty much bring a damage over time effect champion and profit. So that one also seems very friendly. I like the way that opens up just a lot of champions in the roster. Thermostat, it looks like you're going to be able to get around that with like kind of an awkward playstyle and a larger retinue of champions. But for the most part, you essentially just want to bring Incinerate immunity. You might be able to get away with cheesing some Cold Snap immunity with like high block proficiency or like a shike ton of parries. Also, like I think Captain Marvel movie will be a good response to this. Even like I think Tarax might be a good response to this. I'm not too sure with how based on his invulnerability and stuff, but you might be able to get around this with just like awkward playstyle, or for sure Incinerate and just like a lot of basic combos. Energy, Adoption, Fire, Ice, and Lightning are all essentially the same thing, where like you have to have either Incinerate immune, Cold Snap immune, or Shock immune to just ignore the node completely. Or for Energy, Adoption, Fire, you want to bring a guaranteed bleed, and you don't want to bring Incinerate. I do kind of speculate. I think Human Torch, this is just going to be a free node for him because he should be able to heal reverse this whole fight. So whatever node Energy Adoption Fire is on, I would not be surprised if Human Torch is just the full cheese to that entire node. For Energy Adoption Ice, you need guaranteed armor break if you're not bringing Cold Snap Immune, because again, there's not like the largest amount of Cold Snap Immune champions, but there are plenty of armor break champions that you might be able to push your way through. But for the most part, I do think you're going to need to get like guaranteed armor breaks, and you're going to need to be able to get it on like the first hit. Otherwise, you're going to be hurting a little bit. It just comes down to how much damage you're actually taking as a result. And then next up is the Shock Immune, and this one you need guaranteed poison, and you can't bring a Shock Champ. I think as far as like nodes go, this is probably the second one I feel that's going to be really, really limiting. Like I think Power Sting is going to be the most limiting, and then I think Shock Immune is going to be the second most limiting. So let's see how Kabam puts it into iteration, but I don't have too of high hopes for 6.4. That said, as far as the energy, I'm really like curious if this is actually what it is, like approximately 90 energy, because my gut instinct is like, hey, you've got 3 energy per step, and you're approximating 30 nodes per step. Like that's 90. Yeah, that works. Oh, this is updated. Never mind. I apologize. The math didn't check out when I was at work, but it works out here. So skip that part, and then we get to the rewards. I'm not gonna lie. I'm on the bandwagon of these rewards look disappointing. So for those of you who just want to hear my thoughts, like too long didn't watch, the rewards are disappointing. And I'll go over kind of my thoughts on that. I do want to say, I want to start with the positive. So like the positive approach, right, is that we don't see a lot of tier 5 class catalysts in here, right? We see the standard amount that has been previously seen in Act 6. You get that tier 5 class catalyst fragment crystal for the exploration of the chapter. That's been pretty standard in all of Act 6. But what we don't see is tier 5 class catalysts in the Act 6 completion, which means that once you've done Act 6 completion, you're not getting any closer to a rank 3 6-star. And in one regard, you could say, oh, okay, so what that means is that Kabam is mentally saying we don't want rank 3 6-stars to be like fully prevalent in the community yet. So in that regard, like we can maintain the value of our rank 5 5-stars for longer. So that's a positive note. And even in the long term, as more and more people push this static content, right? It's not until that exploration that you really start seeing rank 3 6-stars. So that's neat in its own regard as far as optimism goes. But I'm gonna drop in here with like my thoughts and my reality check. So first, I want to say tier 2 alpha, tier 5 basic looks great. I think Kabam really crushed it with a quantity of tier 2 alpha and tier 5 basic. In no way, shape, or form do I feel like we're lacking here. I think as far as crystal shards go, I think they did okay with the 5 and 6-star shards, right? No one's really pushing this content for the crystals, so just getting a crystal here and there feels really good, and that's like a solid reward to have, so I'm okay with that. Now, I know a lot of people are really upset with these Cavalier crystals, and I'm actually going to agree. I think these Cavalier crystals were completely unnecessary. I personally hate RNG in rewards, and I understand RNG is a natural part of the game. And like if you want to put RNG in the form of like awakening gem crystals or rank up crystals, like I get it. You know, that's a way to push higher rank ups and you know give people better rewards, but you keep it RNG so that they can't get guaranteed. Like it kind of lets you balance it a little bit. I just think the Cavalier crystals are kind of a slap in the face that's just super unnecessary. And to me, what they are is essentially a cash push, right? People who never open Cavalier crystals, this could be their first instance opening a Cavalier crystal, and if you hit the lottery on these things, dude, that's a really good way to get addicted. And I really, in my head, I just don't see any other logic for putting Cavalier crystals in the rewards other than to like get people addicted to pulling Cavalier crystals. Because let me tell you, they're addictive. Like all you need is one insane Cavalier crystal opening and you are hooked. It is so hard to get off that juice. So in my head, I just think it was unnecessary. I think to an extent, like Kabam Mike even said, these were bonus rewards. Like the Cavalier Crystals are not part of their overall rewards, and when they're tallying, so if they were not in here, we probably wouldn't see anything else in return. And I'm not gonna lie, straight up, I'd rather not have them in here. Like I know a lot of people will be like, oh, it's free. Nah, dude, these are addict bait. This is the extra cup of coffee in the morning. This is the, you know, shot in your Bloody Mary. This is what gets people hooked, and I just don't think that's good for the community, and that's coming from a Cavalier Crystal addict. That's my thought. So maybe a little too much ranting on the Cav Crystals. Let's move on to, I think, the next disappointment. So this next thing, I literally laughed out loud. Like I couldn't not. Okay, so for the Act 4 completion, we see 2 5-star rank up gems 2 to 3 and 2 5-star rank up gems 3 to 4 crystals. If you're doing Act 4 completion, do you really need random 5 stars from 2 to 3 and 3 to 4? I'm just curious, like what have you been pushing Act 6 with if you need these rewards? Now, if these were generic, it would be a completely different situation. You know, maybe you've got that one champion or like a couple of champions you're really holding on to. Like you're like, man, I really want to rank these champions up. And this might be your way to do it if they were generic. But the fact that they're random means like the odds of you pulling something you actually want, super low, unless you're walking in here and you're forcing Act 6.4 way earlier than you really should be. I just feel like it's super unnecessary. Or like if the completion, like instead of 2 and 2, if this was just 2 5-star rank 4 to 5 crystals, I could understand, right? Because the 4 to 5 crystals have so much more value. I just think like making these crystals was really unnecessary. And if these were generics, I wouldn't laugh. I think, yeah, that's fine. More and more 5 stars come out. Maybe you just pulled a new feature, you want to bring them up. But like the RNG here is what makes me groan and just frustrated. That was my gut instinct. As far as the exploration, I think the Tier 5 Class Catalyst Fragment Crystal, this was fine. I think the exploration rewards here, for the most part, were fine. I think all the way down, again, to the 5-star rank up gem crystals, this was great. My question is, like, why do we get 2 5-star rank up gem crystals from 3 to 4 for a completion, and we get 2 more of the same exact thing for the exploration? Like, I just feel like the rewards weren't linked up here. Like, if you're gonna say, okay, the completion, we're trying to match the rest of the act, so you get random RNG. But why for the exploration are we still getting RNG crystals? And again, if you're exploring Chapter 4, it's probably the last chapter you're exploring. Maybe 6.2 is the last chapter people will explore, but you don't need 2 more rank 4 5 stars. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me why these are in here as crystals for the first part, and second, like, in here at all. In my opinion, this should absolutely be a rank 4 or rank 5 crystal, or just not in here. Like, honestly, just remove it and I would be fine with the rest of the rewards and I wouldn't complain. It just kind of seems unnecessary to have it like that in the first place. And then Act 6 completion, again, we see a 5-star rank up gem crystal. Like the Tier 5 basics, the Tier 2 alphas, these are all fine. I think these were really well done. I harp on the what the heck is the point for the RNG. We don't need to see RNG. Anybody who's doing Act 6 completion probably has a roster of rank 5 stars and isn't like really hoping for that crystal. Now there's going to be plenty of people who push Act 6 completion, myself included, who are going to get a lot of value out of this, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. I'm just saying, for the most part, I think it would have been okay to say, hey, you did Act 6 completion, you get a generic rank 4 to rank 5. I just think that was fine. I think especially since more and more people are feeling like we're pushing into a 6-star rotation. You know, the world of 6 stars and entering the contest and being predominant is coming out. And I just feel like with that being more and more prevalent in the game, you know, these random 5-star rank ups are less and less necessary. And then finally, like the last point here is the Act 6 exploration rewards. So again, Tier 5 basics, Tier 4 alpha, Tier 2 alpha. I really love seeing a full Tier 5 class catalyst crystal because there's no RNG there in like the sense of like, oh, I hope I form a crystal. You are just straight up getting, hey, day, one of these 6 classes you'll be able to rank 3. So I really appreciate that. And I believe as far as like tier 5 basics and tier 2 alpha goes, I'm pretty sure this is like essentially the whole tier rank 3. If I'm wrong about that, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure that's what that is. And then a 6-star Awakening Gem Crystal. Even on the Exploration, like I wasn't necessarily expecting a 6-star Awakening Gem on Act 6 completion. So I'm fine seeing that on the Exploration. I would have liked to see it on the completion, but I am fine seeing it here. And then 2 5-star Rank Up Gem Crystals. Again, crystals 4 to 5. I'm not going to lie, for the Exploration, flat out, this should have been at least 1, maybe 2 6-star rank 1 to rank 2 crystals. This was the moment Kabam needed to introduce 6-star rank up gems. And it didn't need to be the 2 to 3s. It just needed to be a rank 1 to rank 2 6-star crystal. I think that would have been fine. I think the community, like some minor changes here. And yes, it's minor changes in the form of better rewards, but I think some minor changes here really could have improved this. I think all the gems had been generics. For Act 4, I think people wouldn't have been complaining, or even if they didn't make the completion rewards generic, they just made the exploration generic, I think there would have been a lot less complaints. I think Act 6 completion should have seen at least another 25% of a tier 5 class catalyst. Like, you've pushed so much of Act 6, you should have at least gotten some more tier 5 class catalysts in the completion of Act 6, and it's really disheartening to not see that until you get to Act 6 exploration. And then this 5-star rank up gem crystal, zero reason it should be random, should at least be a generic, and in my opinion it should be a 6-star rank 1 to rank 2 crystal. I just think that has so much more value for anyone who's doing an Act 6 completion. But hey, go ahead and argue with me if you disagree. I would love to hear the opposing opinions. And then finally, I do personally think it would have been good for the community to see a 6-star Awakening Gem Crystal in the Act 6 completion rewards, and then have a generic 6-star Awakening Gem in Act 6 exploration. Now, the reason I think that they didn't do this is that they might be pushing to have like the generic 6-star Awakening Gem in Act 7, right? Maybe for the next title, because this, like, very notably, Act 6 does not come with a title. So maybe the intention is like Act 7.1 or Act 7.2, like the completion or the exploration rewards there will have a generic Awakening Gem. I just can't help but feel like the longer and longer the wait, less and less excited people will be to push static content. And to an extent, especially after the frustrations of 6.2, I think the community needed to see a little more love here, just to kind of show that commitment from Kabam. And I know this is a lot of harsh criticism on the rewards, but this is a really big deal. So that said, that's my rant over. I do want to touch on like 2 real quick messages from Kabam Mike. So the first one is that we have confirmed there is no new title / progression based on completion. They are planning for the next one already, so hopefully we do see that soon, because that does make a huge difference, right? Like, as much as I harp and brutalize how much like these rewards are disappointing, I think that the determination of how disappointing these rewards are is hand in hand with how fast Act 7.1 comes out. Because like if Act 7.1 comes out in like 3 months or 4 months, the conversation changes, right? The content is coming out quicker, so the rewards are lower, and then it becomes understandable. But that's really like the biggest thing. And then the next thing is that somewhere in here, Kabam responds, they're not changing the rewards. Well, if I remember, I'll add it to the comments. But I'm missing something else here as far as comments, so maybe it got removed before I went to add. That said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will talk to you all later. Peace.